My husband's, one of his favorite combinations is mint and chocolate. And so I've discovered a recipe to make mint chocolate cookies. That's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna start with my dry ingredients. I have 2.5 cups of flour. I have a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're just gonna stir those together. Make sure that cocoa is evenly distributed throughout the flour. Now, in our mixing bowl, I have 2 sticks or a cup of unsalted butter, and I'm going to add to that a cup of sugar. I'm going to turn it on slow to start. Let it incorporate, and then we're going to turn it on high. Leave it there for about 2 minutes so that our butter and our sugar can cream together and be light and fluffy. Okay, our butter and our sugar, light and fluffy, as you can see. Now I'm going to add 1 egg that is at room temperature, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of peppermint extract. And this is going to go on for about 3 minutes. All right, we've been on for 3 minutes, so now I'm going to turn it to low, and then I'm going to slowly pour in our dry ingredients. And turn it up just a little higher. And now, what we're going to do is split this into 2. I'm going to divide it in half, and then wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator for the next 30 minutes. And then we'll roll it out to make our cookies. And I'm going to do one more around with my hand to get, there's some butter on the sides here, butter and sugar that hasn't mixed in. So I'm going to mix it in just by hand. There's a little bit of dry ingredients at the bottom that didn't get mixed in too. I'm going to take care of that while I'm here. So this is not exact, this is not science. I'm just gonna eyeball about half. Shape it into a disc, flatten it out. Cover it up, stick it in the refrigerator. And then we'll do the same thing with this second half. And then we'll put these both in the refrigerator and be back in about 30 minutes. Our dough has been chilling in the refrigerator for about 35 minutes. We were a little late coming back. So now what I'm going to do is, on a lightly floured surface, we're going to roll these out to about 1/4 of an inch thick. That's why I have these guards here, because they are 1/4 of an inch. And I want to make sure that I don't go any thicker than that, or they won't be the cookies that we're looking for. Now I'm going to roll out. All that stuff that sticks, I'm going to put off to the side. We'll come back to it because we'll roll this out again. So now I have a 2-inch round cookie cutter. Just going to cut and put on a parchment lined cookie sheet. And these don't really expand as they cook, so we can get quite a few on a tray. And we're going to cook these in a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes. And then we have to let them completely cool so we can dip them in peppermint chocolate. So now all I'm going to do is smush all this back together and re-roll it. All right, so I've got 20 on this tray. I'm going to pop that in the oven. It's going to be about 10 minutes while I work on the next batch. So our cookies are all out of the oven. I'm going to put them on these cooling racks for the next hour or so and let them cool completely before we melt chocolate and then dip them in it. So our next step in our chocolate mint cookies is, I have a saucepan. I have about 1/2 inch of water in the bottom that we are heating up and bringing to a boil. And then I have a heat-proof bowl with 20 ounces or 3 cups roughly of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I'm gonna put this in the bowl, in the pan, and then I'm gonna stir to melt the chocolate. Because what we need to do is melt this, add a little bit of peppermint extract, and then dip our cookies in them. Okay, now that it's boiling, I'm going to turn it down just a little while we melt the chocolate. And once the chocolate is melted, we'll turn it down even more because we don't want to overcook the chocolate. Just enough, we want it to keep it warm enough to maintain the temperature and make sure it stays liquid so that we can continue to dip cookies. So I started out on medium-high heat and now we're at medium heat. And as soon as the chocolate is melted, we'll go down to medium-low, probably a 2 or 3. So one of the reasons that I like to use this particular bowl, it has a handle that I can hold on to while I'm stirring. That's helpful. We are almost perfectly smooth, so we're just going to keep stirring until we get all of those chunks of chocolate melted. All right, now I'm going to reduce this heat to about a 2. Keep stirring this chocolate. And then I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of peppermint extract. Just a little more mint for our mint chocolate cookies. Now you don't want to remove the chocolate from the heat because we have 100 cookies. We're going to dip them one at a time. If we remove the chocolate from any kind of heat source, then it's going to harden up and we'll just have to keep re-melting it. So to avoid that, we're going to keep it over low heat in the water. Now I'm going to take a little cookie, I'm going to drop it in, take a fork, flip it over again. We're going to let the excess drip off. And then put it on our parchment lined cookie sheet. I'm going to continue with all of my cookies. When I get one tray finished, we'll put them in the refrigerator. They need to be in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to let the chocolate set. So our cookies are dipped. Now I'm going to stick them in the freezer for about 30 minutes and then we'll get to try them. So I put the mint chocolate cookies in the refrigerator yesterday so the chocolate could set, and then I fell asleep. So they're done today, and here they are. I wear gloves to take them off of the cookie sheet because my hands are hot and they melt the chocolate. If you can take them off without them, don't worry about gloves. I'm just going to put them in an airtight container and leave them in the refrigerator so the chocolate doesn't melt, because I live in Texas and it's hot here. And there we are.